2020, a packed stadium for the first time since 1995, and it's going to be awesome, just so amazing. So for me, I've been a Bills fan my entire life. You kind of have to be a Buffalo Bills fan if you join our family. It's kind of like it's kind of like getting that passport handy to go to Canada or another country. You have to be a Bills fan in my family, or else I don't know. You get kicked out. I don't know what happens, but you have to be a Buffalo Bills fan. So I was born in 1991. At that point, the Bills were going to the Super Bowl. They were going to the Super Bowl for the second consecutive year. And also in January of that year, it was wide right, Super Bowl 25, where the Bills almost won the Super Bowl. So the Bills went on four straight Super Bowls, and really the first 2 or 3 years of my life, the Bills were in the Super Bowl. They were really good. And, from 1991 all the way to, I would say, 99, 2000 ish, they were thought about as a really good NFL football team. Like, people wanted to go to the Bills so that they can win the Super Bowl, or they can get to the playoffs consistently. Actually, in the 90s, the Bills only missed the playoffs just 3 times during that entire decade. So one would say that while the one would say that while you were trying the Bills were good, I was still too young to really appreciate how good the Bills were. I don't really remember Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas. I remember somewhat of Andre Reed and Bruce Smith. I remember Doug Flutie playing. He was my first favorite Buffalo Bill. So, I really got into the Bills in 2002 when Drew Bledsoe came into the fold. And during that time, the Bills were on a 2-year playoff drought. But, you still thought that the Bills were still going to be great. And, in 2 to 3 years, they're going to go to the playoffs. They just will. You just thought that, okay, the Bills were on a 2-year playoff hiatus, but with Drew Bledsoe, Greg Williams, and, he's a good defensive corner at the time, they will get it figured out. And during this time, all the good players from the Super Bowl years went into the Hall of Fame. And really, after that golden age ended for the Buffalo Bills, the next 10 years was remembering how great that those times were. So my dad was instrumental about bringing me up as a Buffalo Bills fan. He was a big Buffalo Bills fan really throughout his life, and he went to a lot of classic Buffalo Bills games even before the 90s. He went to the greatest comeback of all time, and he saw the Bills coming back from a 32-point deficit, but he also went to the 1990 AFC Championship game, 51-3. He went everywhere, and he saw every game, and during the 2000 to 2009, the Bills were the Bills were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Jim Kelly, James Lofton, Andre Reed, Ralph Wilson, Bruce Smith. It was the Hall of Fame decade for the Buffalo Bills players during the 90s, and they gave lots of good speeches, and really it was amazing, and I really got into it. And to meet Jim Kelly, I went to his football camp, and he really taught me how to throw a football really well, and it was amazing. Just seeing the players in real life, and experience and bring me to the St. John Fisher training camp, the Bills training camp every year. And it really it brought me into being a Buffalo Bills fan. And then, I went to a lot of games because it was in 1998 we started having season tickets to the Buffalo Bills games. In 98, 99, they made the playoffs. So one would think that at 8 years old, the Bills would have more playoffs down the road. And that as the years go on, as I get older, the Bills are going to have a home playoff game. I'm going to go to it. It's not going to be 17 years, right? So, from 2009 happened, the Bills did not make the playoffs at all. They did not even come close. The only time they came close was in 2004 when they rallied off 6 straight wins after starting 0-4, but they lost to the Pittsburgh backups and they went out of the playoffs. And that was tough. But throughout the entire time, I was a loyal Bills fan, and I really became known for that in school, that, this team was horrible, terrible, but I still root for them. And really, that is really because of my dad and my uncle and everyone who went to the stadium believing that this could be the year the Bills break their playoff drought and finally get a playoff game. But the thing that really stuck out to me was that, man, I've been watching all the playoff games throughout that entire time and throughout the 17-year playoff drought up until 2017. I'm like, man, it would be so cool to go to an actual NFL playoff game. It would be amazing to go to an NFL playoff game. It just seems so awesome. Everyone's really together, shouting together, trying to root on their team to win the game. And the loud, the noise, the atmosphere, the energy just looks amazing in the playoffs because it is so different in the playoffs. The intensity of the crowd is different. You can just see it. It's so different in all of the sports, really. It's so different. And I would love to experience that. Now, I'm a Yankees fan, I'm a Sabres fan, and even then, I never went to a playoff game or a playoff series because I was a little bit too young, and the Yankees are far away, and the Sabres, we never really went to a playoff Sabres game. Maybe in the next couple of years, once the Sabres break the playoff drought of their own, I will go to a playoff series game. But throughout the entire time, the Bills were in a playoff drought, and they were just not getting close to the playoffs. So, and my dream was to experience the playoffs with my dad next to me and us rooting on the Bills. It would have been amazing. It really would have been amazing. So you get to 2017, the Bills were on a 17-year playoff drought, and my dad, who was sick at the time, of course, I was in despair, like, come on, can the Bills be good at least one time in my life, or one time a season? Can the Bills be good? And and I asked to my dad that, and he said, yes, we are in a bad drought, but you know what? Once we get good again, it's going to feel better than the Super Bowl years in the 90s, because we experienced the playoff drought, and now we're finally good again, and that's going to feel so much better. And I would have to say that after 2 straight AFC East championships and playoff appearances in 4 out of the last 5 years, I believe he was right. So sadly, my dad is not here anymore, and I don't get to experience that with him, of course, but it's all sad and all, of course. But at the same time, I get to experience it with my family, with my uncle, with my with my two uncles, with my cousin, with my sister. We get to experience it together. Our first actual playoff game this Sunday. It's going to be cold, but you know what? I can deal with the cold. I get to see the Bills finally in the playoffs at home at Highmark Stadium. And that's all I ever wanted, just to see them play. So that's really my Buffalo Bills journey of finally experiencing, or will experience, a Buffalo Bills home game. And I hope you enjoyed this story down memory lane. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And go Bills.